This tutorial is going to go through the steps to making a basic question and answer type of filter for Instagram. You'll need to go to sparkar.facebook.com to download Spark AR first of all, and then install it to your computer. You do also need a Facebook account. When you first open Spark AR, you're going to log in with your Facebook details. Before we look at the program, decide what sort of question and answer theme you want to go with. I'm going with a what should I read next type of filter. So I've downloaded 10 different book title images off the internet and I've saved them as PNG files. And here I've got a text image that I want for my question, and I saved that as PNG as well. So don't use JPEG or any other file type, use PNG. Okay, let's open the program and we're going to start a new project. And we're going to go blank project today, just so you can do it from scratch. This guy here is our default model. You can also go up to the video camera icon here, click on it, and you can select other models or your own computer camera if you'd rather see yourself with the filter. So that's quite a cool thing to play around with. Okay, to get started, click Add Object, select Face Tracker, which is also already selected, insert it, and you'll see that it's added to our list there. Add Object again. I'm going this time to go down the list until we see Plane. I'm going to click that and then insert. So now I've got a square on our model's face, but it's not moving with the face. So drag the plane on top of Face Tracker, and you'll see that the square is now corresponding to the movement of the head. Now I don't want this over our face, so I'm going to drag it up. I'm going to have it just sort of resting above the eyebrows. You might like to have it above the head completely. You play around with that how you want. And then over here I'm selecting resize. So you can make it really big or really small. But I also want this to be in the shape of a rectangle so it looks like a book. So go over to the other side and stretch vertically if you want to do that as well. Obviously it will be in relation to the dimensions of your images. Playing with the size and shape of the object has moved it over his eyes, so I'm just going to drag it upwards again. Next, I'm going to add some assets. So I go down here to add asset, and I'm going to choose animation sequence. I'm going to take this opportunity to rename animation sequence just so I don't get confused as I go along. So I'm going to call it book title animation. Then let's move over to the top right hand corner here under texture, click choose file, and I'm going to select all 10 of my book titles. I just won't select the question image. Deselect loop for now, but do click on randomize. I'm going to double click on this plane and rename it as question. So this will be for the question image. Make sure question is highlighted, then we go over and we create a new material by clicking the plus sign. So you can see it says material 0, and I'll rename it question, which is not very creative, but it will be very helpful as we go along for me. Up on the top right hand side for shaded type, I'm going to go flat, but I'll show you some of the other types as well. So you'll see that they look different with different lighting effects. But I think flat, to be honest, is the most vibrant for this kind of effect. Under texture, I will select my question file, which I saved as what should I read next. And when I click on that, it'll come up as a preview. We have our question plane sorted, but we need an answer plane. So right click and you're going to click duplicate. So you have two of the same plane. Let's go over the second one and we'll change this to the answer plane. So renaming it, you could call it answer, or in my case I'm just going to write book titles. With book titles selected, I'll go over to the right And under materials, I will scroll down and create new material. Click on that material and rename it book titles again. Make sure book titles is selected, and we need to change it. I'm going to have it flat as the shader type. And then under texture, I'm going to choose book title animation. So we can see that there's a preview, but it's not moving. So let's click on book title animation and loop it. In the top menu bar, click on View and Show Patch Editor. So the patch editor is where we put the instructions basically for the assets and the scenes we've created. If this is the first Spark AR filter that you've made, maybe just follow along with what I'm doing, and then at the end you might want to just slightly change the values of the patches and see what they do, and that'll help you understand what each patch means. Screen tap is the first patch I'm going to search for. So what we're looking for is the trigger for the filter. So people could blink, or they could shake their head, nod their head, etc. to get the filter to move. I'm going to start with screen tap as my trigger, but you choose what you want to choose. Okay, so there's our patch. I'm going to drag it over to the left-hand side. I'll try and keep my sequence of patches fairly neat so I know what's happening. Now I add my next patch, and I need to search for a particular patch, which is called switch. And I'm going to connect the top output of screen tap to the flip input on switch. The next patch I'm going to add has a funny name. It's NOT, not, and we'll connect switch to not. So the switch and the not patches are going to help us toggle between question and book titles. So select question, then we go over to the right hand side, click on that yellow arrow next to visible, and that creates a patch. Connect not out to the input of question. And now we need to do the same thing for book title, but this time we're not going to go through the not. We're going to go from the output of switch to the input of book titles. Add a patch. This one's going to be called runtime. And we're going to move it, actually it's a new sequence completely, so we'll start it over on the left hand side underneath that sequence. Then I'm going to add offset. So offset has a value and a reset input. I'm going to connect screen tap to the reset and the runtime to the value. So the reset means that if people touch the screen, that will reset the animation again, so they can play the quiz over and over. Add the next patch, and we're going with something called less than. I'm going to connect offset to first input, and I'm going to change second input to 6. So that means the animation will run for less than 6 seconds. I can change this figure later if it's too long or too short. The next patch is loop animation. Under duration, I can specify how fast I want to cycle through the book covers. So I'm going to make it 0.05, which is nice and quick. Connecting less than to enable. It's getting a bit crowded in here, so I'm going to move over to add my next patch. I need to search for random. Connecting loop animation to randomize. In end range, you're going to put the amount of images that are in your looped animation. So I have 10 book covers, so I put 10. We only have 2 more patches to go. So add round, connect random and round. For our last patch, go over to book title animation, or whatever your animation sequence is called. Make sure it's highlighted. And then we're going over to current frame and creating a patch of the current frame. Now I'm going to test it all out. So up here, it's already on simulate touch. And as I click on the image, it cycles through and hopefully it will land on one image. Perfect. Okay. And theoretically, if I click on it again, it will reset because of the patch we set. So clicking it again, and we'll get probably a different result. If you want to test it on your device using Instagram, go down to Test on Device, click Instagram, and it will send to your Instagram account. So grab a device, and under notifications it will say that you have a preview to test. Here's a screen capture of my preview. Okay, so I'm tapping the screen to initiate the quiz, and I should read next the iron trail. If you're happy with your filter, go down to upload and export, and you can submit your filter to Instagram for approval. And if it goes through, other users can find and use your filter.